Easy there, killer. That was one thing I noticed on the first one. You were very prone to like keep touching it, and it makes like a tiny little noise on the mic when you did.
At least you mentioned.
So just find somewhere where you're comfy and just don't freaking touch it.
Let me get comfortable.
Or you could hold it like me. I do want to talk a good little bit about black drum, because I feel like we teased it a little bit in the first episode.
But I feel like it's such a small niche of. It's like you either know it or you don't.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. It's something that it's like one of these things. I feel like so many people that are like out of state, that are especially from like northern landlocked states, that catch drum. There's a freshwater drum, and then they see those like big ones, and they're just like, oh my god, and like all this. But then you get, dude, we could go through my comments right now, and it's about. I just posted, but like probably like a month ago, posted a short. That's what it is on YouTube, right?
Yeah, short.
Short. I posted a short of one of the black drum, and it's doing really well right now. It's over.
Is it over like 50K?
Oh, dude, it's getting like 40K a day.
Oh, yes, that's what we like to see.
I swear to God, I get 50 comments a day, and half of them are just like, we can't believe you didn't keep it. Like, we don't understand fishing for fun and like all this. Then you get the other comments that like some people are responding. They're like, do you realize that fish is probably half its weight is worms? Like, dude, it is something you do not want to eat when they get that big. Like, the meat gets real tough and everything. And it's kind of crazy that it's just like the different perspectives, especially then you get people talking about like, my biggest drum I caught on Lake Erie, and that one was only 5 pounds. I'm like,
people don't get it. They look very, very similar.
Yeah, no,
like,
they do.
I get it, but it's completely different.
It's different, and I think it's just funny that like people all species, it seems like sheepshead kind of fall in this category too. I feel like where people like they just. Like, people know snook, people know redfish, people know tarpon, they know all those, but then
drum's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah,
it's kind of like,
and it seems like it just confuses the most people, but it also intrigues them because of like how big they get. And I think that's kind of why those videos, the shorts, and like my past videos of the black drum,
probably right,
have done so well, because it's just like people love big fish. I mean, you post a video with a big snook, big black drum, big tarpon, like big gag grouper, it's going to do well. But I feel like of all those, I feel like the drum also takes the least amount of skill.
It definitely does.
So I feel like it's the most relatable to the everyday angler that just wants to go out and catch something big. Them and sharks. Yeah. I don't want to say shark fishing doesn't have any skill. I also don't want to say black drum doesn't take any skill, because you kind of have to get them dialed in and everything. But of those species, it's not nearly as difficult as going out and catching tarpon off the beach as catching like a 40-inch snook or a 40-inch gag grouper or anything like that.
Yeah. So I think their senses are just, when they get older, their senses are a little bit more, like kind of like people, you lose part of your senses. And I think their senses are stronger in smell and not as much like actually seeing, if you can agree with that, because they smell a crab or like something smelly and they're just like, it's there, but there's a 100-pound leader attached to it, and they're just like, looks good to me.
It's also one of the things that I feel like that time of year, when we go, it's early summer. Honestly, when this post is going to be coming up on close. That time, honestly. Yeah. It's going to be the fact that they also school up pretty heavily out there, and it's kind of, once you know where they are, once you know like the bridges that they're on and everything, and you get out there, if you find one, you're more than likely going to find a couple of them. And I've seen last year, I got a couple buddies. I know Max Berman, grouper MVP, shout out to you. He went out on his boat and he was finding like the schools of them using his side scan and like sonar and everything. So he was catching them on lures. Granted, I think they're like gulp shrimp.
Yeah, gulp shrimp, something smelly.
I've also seen people, posting them, catching them on like swim baits, like 4 or 5 inch swim baits.
Oh, I believe it.
It's just like once again in those schools, and
it's the same thing with like any fish. Any school of fish is just something clicks like competitively.
Yeah,
they kind of just see it as like an opportunity rather than just be like, all right, I could wait on that. They're like, go after it. You know?
Yeah, and it's like, but it's one of these things that we go out the way we do it. You guys have seen the videos. I'm assuming you guys have seen the videos of us doing it in the past. We get the blue crabs and cut them in half or quarter them or whatever and drop them down, because that's naturally what they're eating is crustaceans and stuff like that. They're not going out and eating anything that looks like a swim bait that these people are using. Yeah. So it's one of these things that I definitely see people being very intrigued about black drum, more so than like, it just kind of sparks their interest. Like everyone like looks at those videos, looks at those like shorts and everything, and they're just like, they can really connect and be like, that's something I can go out and do. And and it's fun. I'll tell you, it's a lot of fun. I was in the same boat. I was in college, and my buddy Tate, Captain Tater, if you guys are OGs to the channel and watch a lot of the older videos, he was going out. I was up in Connecticut in college, and he was going out and posting pictures on Instagram of him going out and catching these 30, 40-pound black drum. And I have never seen anyone that I knew personally catching fish that, like, black drum that big. And I remember I just texted him, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I wanna get on some of these. And he's like, when you come down at the end of the semester, like, we'll get you on some. And
so
that was
this
the
was
first
like
time.
spring. This was like
this was summer. This was like May.
Was like summer. So he's saying like after spring semester lets out.
So he was catching them in April, May. And I then the semester was like, I don't know, like early May, mid-May or something. So I came back down for the summer, and he was like, let's get on them. And that was the first time I experienced that. And I'm trying to remember if that was, I think that was my junior year. So 2017 was the first time I went out and caught them. And it's something that I look forward to every single summer. I'm like, I want to go out there and get on some of these black drum because, one, the videos are fun to make. The videos oftentimes do very well, and it's something that you guys really seem to enjoy. But just me personally, like, I like going out and catching them. It's something that like Tate does not want to go out there and do it anymore. It's a lot of work. Loading up the kayak, climbing up on these pilings, getting kayak kind of scraped up, you're kind of beating up your gear and everything, but it's something I love doing. And some people look down on it, but I have a lot of fun doing it. It seems like a lot of people enjoy watching the videos as well.
It's just rugged. It's kind of like everything about it. Climbing on the pilings, getting bird crap all over you. Like,
the amount of dude. The first couple times I went there, I was barefoot, and the amount of comments that I got there, it's like, that is disgusting.
It's so bad.
You need to like burn your feet, just cut them off. Like, those things are just covered in bird crap, and I'm like, we're like monkey barring across the top of these things to get them across.
I wish I had that clip where like I'm like parkour. I'm like doing crazy ninja moves like over the pilings.
You have to
get to the camera to start filming, because it's like it's a cross. You have to cross the pilings, but to do that you have to climb up and then like monkey your way across.
Or if someone like if the drum like runs
and
runs around one of the other pilings, you have to go like meet the like in the other piling and hand the person the rod and go underneath the pilings, and that's
the fun of it though.
It is, and
it's fun.
They're big too, and it's a lot of fun. But to kind of circle back on the other topic that we wanted to talk about with the blue crabs, something that we really want to utilize going into this year is trying to catch our own bait. And because we've had it in the past where it's difficult to find bait shops that have live blue crabs. That's what we prefer to use. We have caught black drum on frozen blue crabs and chunking them up that way. They smell so bad when they're already dead.
When they're frozen, I don't think there's a worse smelling bait.
As soon as they start
than when they're
thawing
frozen.
out, oh, dude, it is so bad. So we like using live blue crabs, and there would be a bunch of times where specific bait shops that we tried to go to would not have live blue crabs, and we were just kind of like, well, what do we do now? When we would go out and like try and like, I remember the one time you went out and like try to like use a rod and reel and like bait them.
I was
like,
literally trying to snag them, basically like tangle them in the line. We were desperate that day.
Didn't you get one?
I got one, I think.
But I think we went out for the black drum with like two, if that. I think we like got a couple.
I'm pretty sure we each caught one that day.
Yeah,
so it doesn't take many.
No, but something that we really want to do is not have to utilize bait shops, not have to kind of bank on the fact that they're going to have the blue crabs. So we really want to utilize trying to use traps on our own. And that's something that we're both going to be trying to do here, going to be trying to do it up your way. I'm going to do it my way, and we're going to see which technique or area does the best and go from there. And I know a lot of people have commented in the past also saying like, oh, could you use like big live shrimp or like frozen shrimp, or people even say like squid, or I know the people in New Jersey are like, oh, you should use clams because that's what they use. Oh yeah, I get that comment quite a bit. I'm like, first off, I don't know where to get clams other than Publix, but I'm not going to go do that. Winn-Dixie, yeah. Some Walmart clams. That sounds terrible.
Disgusting.
But it's one of these things that, as far as shrimp,
it get pecked to death, like by spadefish, by
snapper. Out of the bridges, there are a lot of catfish, a lot of snapper, spadefish. I'm assuming pinfish out there.
Bonnetheads.
The bonnetheads are.
Do you remember that? That was 1 year. We could
2
not.
2 years ago.
We could not keep a crab on the bottom for more than like a minute without a bonnethead.
We would go out and get a dozen bonnetheads in an hour, and when we're trying to get black drum, and it was so annoying. But you get a lot of bycatch out there, which is one of the reasons that we really like using the blue crab, because it limits the bycatch to apparently massive sail cats and bonnethead sharks and black drum.
And it catches triple tails attention.
Last year was just so good for triple tail for no reason.
It was a weird year. Yeah.
I mean, we really only had like one good day of black drum last year, didn't we?
Yeah. I think what happened was every year's slightly different in the way that they move, like their pattern.
Yeah.
I think we stuck to our old ways, or at least like the old ways. And I feel like a lot of the fish were actually on a different part of the bridge.
You know, that's something we found out after a couple times of going out.
Yeah, that's kind of what... And that's a lot of work to not catch anything. So it kind of like put a little bit of damper on...
Oh, yeah. I think that was also... You know, going back to Tate, I feel like there was a bunch of times he would go out and... I mean, it's like me with like... the
tarpon.
Well, no, I was going to say me and beach shark fishing in the past. Where
it's a lot of work.
The amount of times you'd go out on the beach and kayak baits out and set up everything and sit there until 2 a.m. and you don't even get a single run and you just go home so defeated. I feel like that outweighed the days of going out and actually catching some sharks for me. That's why I don't do it anymore. Plus, you got the whole law or something where you have to pass that course and everything to do it, and they just made it so much harder. And I understand why they did it, but what were you saying?
The black drum I was gonna say is anything with a kayak, it instantly makes like a little bit more work.
Yeah, because for sure.
I mean, it is nice to have a kayak, but it's also a lot of like just throwing it in the truck, cleaning it, taking it back, putting it in your yard, wherever. Like it's just a lot more steps.
Hiking it to the water.
Yeah, I guess like dragging it through the woods or whatever you're doing, like to get to the spot. I mean, there's definitely it's
a lot of work that goes into it. And going off of what we were talking about, what we kind of learned this year, we kind of had to kayak a little bit further than we thought we had to, which also made it a little bit harder. And there's also something that you tried out this year that is I feel like going to make our success rate of actually landing this fish so much better, because in the past I always used like 40 to 60 pound leader, just thinking like don't want to use too much. I don't want to like not get bit or anything, and I still want to have like some abrasion resistance, but you need a lot of abrasion resistance if they get you in the piling. So JC just went for it last year, and
I showed up. I swear, like I didn't even mention it to you. I just showed up one time, and I think it was after shark fishing. So I had already had like really, I think it was 100-pound mono attached to it, and it was. I think we were casting off the beach for black tips or something. But long story short, I think I had 100-pound mono attached to the 8-foot extra heavy with the BG 5000 or whatever, and I was like, you know what? It's already tied up. Let me just try it. Like worst that happens is I cut the FG knot off and just tie 50 or 60 on. And it worked. and we were like, and I think I got wrapped up really, really bad on that first fish. And we were like, all right, this thing's clearly going to pop off. And then I think you remembered that I had 100-pound mono leader on, and it just kind of like, it went in the pilings, but I got it out. And it was like, we would usually lose a fish if that had happened a year ago.
Yeah.
Or even like a couple trips ago.
Yeah, it was, I always assumed that they would get spooked. I always assume like 100-pound, like that's some
thick stuff.
That's a freaking mechanical pencil thickness right there.
It really is.
And I always assume that like they're gonna, I don't know, see it, feel it, or something whenever they pick up a bait. But I guess black drum are just not too picky, especially that time of year. And if they see a crab, they're just gonna pick it up and go from there. And that's gonna help. I can look back at previous videos and I could probably count like 2 or 3 fish that I've lost in each video where they've wrapped me up and broke me off, or just kind of got me like looped around and then break me off and stuff like that.
When they loop around,
using 100-pound, now knowing that we can do that.
Yeah.
And you should just put freaking 10 feet of that on there.
I think I did. What happened was it's about like 6 feet, if that, 5-6 feet we were fishing. I don't know.
Depends where.
Well, just say like if the water's about 5 to 6 feet, I still had like another 2 feet of leader sticking out of the water in the guides of my rod.
Pretty much a top shot.
It's basically a top shot of 100-pound.
Yeah, you didn't have a leader. You had a top shot.
It's genius. I mean, like, why? I don't know. If their sense of smell is so strong.
Yeah.
And their sight's just terrible, and the water's not the clearest. Like, it works.
Catch me this year out there
with 150-pound mono.
No, with 100-pound straight mono on my truth, and going out there and getting them.
And then if you get a bunch of fray, just clip off and retie.
Yeah,
it works. You're not gonna lose. I mean, you might lose a couple fish, but the success rate was like, we went like 2 for 2.
That was our one good day.
Yeah,
that was our one good day that we went out.
No,
there.
we both got 2. I think we both got 2. I want to say.
We got 4.
I went like 2 for 2, and you went 2 for 3 or something.
Yeah.
Remember you broke off on that first one that was underneath the piling? You were like, remember we saw it and you were like, you just dropped it down to it?
Chase it down.
Yeah, that one wrapped you up immediately.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think that's when you put on 100-pound, or at least.
I don't think I ever put on 100-pound that day. I think I was doing
props to you. I was
doing a scientific experiment. I was going to stick to my 50 or 60 and you were going to use your 100 and we are going to go from there.
You can see it on the look.
Yeah, you can see
his little head on the corner of the.
He's.
What are you sniffing?
He's going full raccoon mode.
George, licking the table.
Down. Sorry, Dad.
Sorry.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
Hi. Okay. What was I gonna say?
Smells other dogs.
So, let's go over our rig that we use for black drum. So you were using a spinning setup last year.
Yeah.
It
works.
Yeah. What was it again? You were using what size? Was it a BG?
It was a BG 5000.
Which is like any other reels,
8,000?
like 8,000. This thing is the biggest 5K reel you'll ever see in your life.
Its drag isn't like outstanding.
No.
We've learned that from Grouper.
Yeah. Drag isn't the best.
Do I smell good? Like
he wants to smell your breath. Open your mouth. Open your mouth. Yeah.
Why is that so funny? Oh my gosh, George, what does the mic smell like my breath too? Hi.
Oh, he probably smells your dogs.
Hi. Dude, that's so funny. He was like, he's sitting there like, do it, open your mouth. I was like, what?
You ever see those like things on Facebook or like TikTok? I guess you don't really go on social media, but it's just like, what's like the weird thing that your dog does that is just so normal to you? It's George smelling people's breath.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
I mean, our dogs do that too, but.
Hi, George.
That's so funny, dude.
Okay, George.
You gonna have to sit some. Look at this. Look at this face. Look at this.
How could you say no to that face?
How could you say no to that face?
You ready for this?
Who's at the door?
George, who's there?
Who's there?
Who's there?
Who's there?
Yeah. Go get him.
Go get him.
The dolphin situation that we saw last year was
so cool, but kind of like
It's nature. It's one of these things that it's unfortunate to see for people that were going out and trying to catch a black drum, but pretty much what it was we were coming back in from kayak, or were we heading out?
No, we were coming back in and we didn't catch squat that day.
That was it. And
it's hit or miss.
Yeah. We went out we tried to time it right with the tides, and really it's like a good couple hour window. It's not like a full day event. I'm sure it could be if you wanted to grind it out, but really the highlight of the day is like a couple hour window right at like the higher part of the tide. And we're coming back in. We didn't catch anything. I don't think we had a single bite all day. Maybe bonnet heads, but we don't count that. And we're coming in, and did we see the dolphin first or the black drum? I think the drum, right?
I feel like we saw it in shallow water turn sideways against the piling, and it was kind of like
it was like tailing.
It was like trying to like get out of the water almost.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it in the past. They're out there on the pilings, literally like tailing. They could be in 6 feet of water, and they're just working up and down the pilings, looking for crabs and everything. And they'll be tailing along the pilings in like 6 feet of water. So that wasn't anything new. I saw this fish kind of tailing, and in my head I was like, well, there's one. We haven't caught one all day.
There's going to be more.
But next thing we know, there's this dolphin that is just working this thing. It was along the piling,
chasing it around. I remember it clear as that. It went around the piling. The fish. We're talking about the drum here. Went around the piling, and I remember the dolphin was like chasing it, like in and out of the pilings, and this thing was just trying to stay as close to the, like I guess the inside. It was like
of the scraping itself on the pilings.
Yeah, it was literally scraping itself on the pilings.
Just trying to survive, have any sort of like structure
and
to hide against.
How big do we think that was?
That drum?
Yeah, probably.
Big one.
25 to 30?
Yeah, it was one of the bigger ones we pretty much saw all of last year.
So to picture like a dolphin trying to eat that, like it didn't get it. Like, quick jump to the end of the story. It didn't get it.
We didn't see it.
At least we didn't
saw the
see
fish kind of go away and the dolphin kind of go away. So we're like, okay. But yeah, it's one of these things. How big of a fish can a dolphin eat? Honestly, I've seen them. It's sad. I've seen them smoke.
Gobble down a big snook.
Yeah, but snook are long and skinny.
Yeah, they're kind of lean.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Drum are not.
They're awkward.
Drum are thick boys.
And tall.
They are. They got some mass to them. They got some girth. And to imagine, a dolphin, no way, can eat a 30-pound black drum. Right? Was he just messing with them to...
Maybe he was just bullying him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the stories of them like going out and just kind of like playing with stingrays and like, have you heard those before?
No.
No, it's like Nat Geo kind of stuff. They'll
That's
go out
cool.
And they'll literally like grab stingrays and just kind of like throw them. Like they're pretty much playing frisbee. It seems like they're playing a little disc golf out there.
They're playing a little bit of disc golf in the golf.
Yeah, and then they don't eat them. They just kind of like swim away and just beat the crap out of a stingray for no reason.
Wow. Maybe that is what he was doing.
Dolphins are bullies.
Plus, the drum was like flat. He probably thought it was just a stingray.
They're smart. He's just like, I'm gonna ruin this fish's day. I'm bored.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't go out there and freaking death roll like a gator or anything. Like they're not ripping them in half. Like usually they're just eating their fish whole, right? There's no way you could eat a 30-pound black drum.
Snook go down like a hot dog to them.
I've seen it. Yeah. Well, they hold them like sideways. You ever see them like grab a big snook?
They grab it by the side.
They grab it by the side and they'll swim like
against time I've current. Seen it, it'll basically like kill the snook.
Yeah, every time I've ever seen them, they grab it either belly or back, and it's freaking perpendicular to their face.
It probably breaks the spine or something.
And they'll just carry this thing.
Yeah.
For I don't even know, a couple hundred yards, and then you just see them. It just disappears. And all you can assume is they just twisted it and gobbled it.
I mean, they eat mullet, but
no, the
35-inch snook?
No. And then,
it's
crazy. Obviously, I've also heard stories of people in the bay that are going for the black drum where they see the big old bull sharks come in and just rip them. And just rip them in half. Like, you're out there fishing, and all of a sudden you just see red water. And it's just like, what just happened? You see half a drum float up, and then like an 8-foot bull just comes up and smokes the other half. That makes sense to me. A dolphin doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, because a dolphin can't just like bite a drum in half.
Yeah. And maybe they know that. They're like, we don't want the worms.
Yeah, I mean maybe they're smarter than most people than to
Yeah,
eat a
they like the
50-pound.
finer fish.
They like they're
like the offshore
oh
short
yeah,
hogfish when
short
you have to
hogfish,
release them and they're
snapper,
hanging by the boat. Yeah, it's so
scamp.
bad. The offshore dolphins they're causing me a lot of issues.
Especially when really pretty Instagram chicks feed them on boats.
That we had a situation where we went out and we had a dolphin messing with us to the point where we were fishing one spot. We were like 18 miles out. We're fishing one spot.
But there was a mark on that dolphin.
Oh yeah,
We recognized that dolphin.
He had a very distinctive dorsal fin. He had a chunk taken out of it, and yeah, we're out about 18 miles, and this dolphin wasn't leaving us alone. Like we were catching like grunts and trying to release, and this dolphin was just smoking them on the way down.
Yeah, like it was fed like before.
Oh, like that's how it lives its life. So then I'm like, all right, I got another spot 2.5 miles away or something. I'm like, let's just run over there, like forget this dolphin or whatever. We run over there, we start fishing, we start dropping baits. And what you know, about 5 minutes later, the same exact dolphin with a mess of dorsal shows up to that spot as well.
2.5 miles. Can we talk about that? Like, that
just followed my bubble trail.
Have you ever ran 2.5 miles? That's like for us to run 2.5 miles is like what, 15 minutes at least? 20 minutes?
Well, dolphins can freaking book it.
That's what I'm saying. But the fact that it got there in like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Before, it started eating our fish again?
Yeah. I've also
it followed the prop wash probably.
It did. That's what I was saying. It followed the bubble trail, the noise and just all the above, and eventually found us. And then we tried moving back to the same spot, and it followed us again. We're just like, what the heck? But then we were like,
because of social media,
annoying. Like we don't want to keep losing short fish. Like there was a couple. There was one time we got a short hog, and this dolphin was right by the boat, and I'm just like, I don't even like.
Yeah, you can't even release it.
Get eaten. I was just like, this sucks. So I'm like, let's just head back in. And then you showed me on Instagram
the next day. It was the next day.
Literally next day that these.
We don't even know the name. Like we're not even. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Jordan that actually sent it to me.
Was it?
Jordan sent it to me, and then I sent it to you. I don't know why he didn't send it to you first, but it's Jordan. Who knows?
Yeah, he doesn't.
But it was the exact dolphin. But it was like one of those big. It was like a big contender with a bunch of people on it, and all you see is this chick in a bikini like feeding this dolphin with the mark on it,
grunt or
like
something.
a huge grunt. And I'm like, this is the problem. This is why we can't.
Please do not feed dolphins.
Please don't feed the dolphins.
This is a PSA.
Please do not feed them.
This is a epidemic that we have going on here. Look at the people that fish the Skyway.
I was just about to say.
That fish Tampa Bay.
I was just about to say.
Swear about the dolphin problem, and it's these people that, like, I get it. Like, if you're reeling up a fish, and a dolphin gets it, or like you release it, just do not purposely feed dolphins, because then that causes issues for people like us, like anyone that goes out and these dolphins find us and they're like, oh, here's a boat. They fed us in the past. Let's go see if they'll feed us again. And then you get these short fish, and it's just like, and then there's people that are going to, I don't know if anyone's going to comment on the podcast or anything like this, but I remember one time I had a video in the past where I caught pretty good snook. I think it was like a 34 or something. Maybe not that big, but there was a dolphin by the boat, and I put it in the live well and waited for the dolphin to leave. Granted, it took like 20 minutes. And I was just like, but the snook,
they're persistent.
Yeah, it left, and then I released the snook, and it was fine. It swam away. But then I got comments saying like, dolphins need to eat too, and like all of this. I was just like, nope. This is the issue right here. I'm like,
pretty much.
You make an animal dependent on you, or not dependent, but like they associate people with food, then it's going to become a problem for people that are not trying to feed these dolphins, that are trying to go out there and catch fish for us to bring home and eat, or let go, where it's like, if we get a short, we want to make sure it can grow up and like,
so we can catch it next year.
Yeah, so we can catch it next year, and hopefully it's a keeper size and we can bring it home. And just the fact that like we can't go out and do that. There's certain days like we'll run out 18 miles. Like you have a whole day planned, you get all this bait, and you're like all this out, and you go out there, and there's a dolphin that won't leave you alone. Yeah. And you're just like, well, now this trip's ruined. So little tangent that we went off there, a little PSA.
Please don't feed the dolphins.
Please do not purposely feed the dolphins. The people that fish inside the bay, they're probably cheering us on right now. Like, yes.
It's such a problem.
It really is. And sharks are different.
Yeah.
Sharks are the same. Like, obviously, it's a lot harder to purposely feed a shark. But we've had, it seems like recently, especially our offshore trips, I've had some issues with sharks and Goliaths. And we went out on Tuesday of last week. I don't know if I'm going to make a video from it. I didn't like film too much. I probably got a couple like shorts and reels from it, but we're out fishing the same ledge that I've fished so many times in the past that you dropped the GoPro down a couple weeks ago and we saw a Goliath here. But before that, I've never seen a Goliath.
Little like 70. He looked like he was probably, because you could tell by how vibrant their like distinct their markings are. Like the smaller ones are obviously really.
You can also kind of
contrast like
generally see like a mangrove.
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, it's
like
much bigger.
It's like
than
a 70 to 100 pounder probably.
Yeah, and that was the first time I've ever seen it. Usually they hang on like areas of like high relief, like lots of structure, like shipwrecks and stuff like that. Not so much on just like ledges and hard bottom.
Yeah.
But we went out there last Tuesday and I got a couple little shorts of it, and like we were hooking good fish and getting clearly Goliath, not shark. Like
because you got the fish back.
There was one that it was a just short red grouper, and I hooked it, was finding it up, and felt the doo, and it just went straight down, like taking line. I'm like, yeah, I got eaten. And instead of just like giving up or whatever, I think I like cut the spool and just like started giving it my all. And for about 30 seconds probably, and I felt it just let go of the red grouper. And I reel it up, and this thing had half its scales missing. Like it was just kind of like
its spines, like the back doors, I guess whatever those are called, are like they were like broken a little bit from being inside the.
If it was a shark, that thing would have been ripped in half in 2 seconds.
Exactly,
we've seen it happen in the past.
Oh yeah,
ripped to that guy grouper, but
it sucks.
This time we knew for a fact, like, all right, that had to have been a Goliath. We had a Goliath eat us probably 5 times.
Probably. And Bob hooked it on a
pin. I also hooked it on a butterfly grunt on the bottom too, trying to go for a big one. I think so.
Yeah.
It felt like it, unless it was a
nurse shark.
No, unless it was. I know what a 40-inch gag feels like, unless it was bigger than a 40-inch gag. No, I think it was a Goliath.
It's probably that little like 70 to 100 pound Goliath.
But it was an issue, and I feel like it makes sense when we go to like the artificial reefs, where we have Goliath and shark issues, and which I've had quite a few of in the recent weeks because one, I've been fishing those artificial reefs quite a bit more because I found out the snapper bite, I found out the redfish bite. But we've been running into the sharks and Goliaths out there, but then you run out there and it seems like the Goliaths are, I don't know if it's the time of year. Like I feel like I've been out there at the same time of year.
Maybe it's seasonal.
But I remember I went out there last year at this time and I don't think I've ever had an issue with a Goliath at these specific spots until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now it seems like it's an actual like issue, but you know, FWC is opening up a season on Goliaths and you got to enter the lottery you have to pay to enter the lottery to be in it, and then if you win you got to pay X amount more to then take one that can't be bigger than 36 inches. I personally have never seen a Goliath less than 36
catches 36-inch Goliaths? People in the Everglades?
Literally, like, you got to be inshore, I feel like.
I was going to say, like, Everglades inshore, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like you're not going out to any of the wrecks or reefs, not even, like, a near-shore one. Like, I could see you, like, getting one at a bridge around here.
I don't know where you're going to find Goliaths that are less than 36 inches.
Oh, when we go on our little Everglades camping trip, then we'll go down there and...
rip the kayaks or something.
Rip the kayaks next to those 14-foot Crocs.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, what, you didn't watch my Everglades camping video?
I don't know.
Oh, here it comes. Yeah, JC doesn't watch my videos.
So you're telling me there's 14-foot Crocs?
Dude, my 9-foot kayak.
And bull sharks and bull sharks.
Where's my phone? It's over there. There was one at the boat ramp. Dude, the Crocs just sit there at the marina where you like launch from, and there's one like at the boat ramp. The day I got there, not the day I launched my kayak, but the day I got there, every bit of 12 foot.
Jeez.
But everyone's just like, they won't mess with you. They're more scared of you than you are of them.
The water's so
you don't know how scared I am.
Murky, yeah.
Imagine, it's so murky.
You're just fishing, and this thing surfaces right next to you. What are you doing?
You're literally kayaking in Nesquik,
and when they hear splashing with a paddle, you're telling me they don't think a deer just fell in the water or something?
Deer fell in the water.
Seriously, think about that. You're paddling in this chocolate milk, and you got this splashing sound. You're telling me a croc's not gonna be did a deer just fall in the water? A key deer. A key deer. A little short one.
I can tell you, when I went, I've only been to Flamingo once. I only really fished in the Everglades one time. I went in my kayak, and I don't know if this is all the time, this the water quality or whatever. It was maybe 2-inch visibility. You dropped I was using a DOA Cal. I was using a root beer one, which you generally want to use a darker color and murky water. Dude, you put it in.
It was just
you drop it 3 inches and you couldn't see it.
It sounds like where I grew up on the river.
Yeah,
muddy river water. Almost.
And it was also super there was deeper pockets. Literally, I was fishing all day. I don't know if it was tide or whatever, but it was the entire area was so shallow to the point where I was kayaking and smacking the bottom with my oar.
Because you can't tell the depth. There's no perception of what.
And I was literally running my kayak into little 3-4 foot lemon sharks out there. You don't see their fin or anything. It's so shallow, and then it's just
they just spook. Yeah,
and then you see the fin going, and you're just oh, there was a shark.
Oh my!
But then you go, and then I caught a slam that day. I got a bunch of trout and little reds and a couple little snook, and I was just how are these? I understand the vibrations and everything. It's just how they live. They can feel it, but I don't know. It kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, it's just all areas are different. They run off different senses down there. Around here, the water, especially the further north you go, it gets clear.
Yeah.
So sight fishing and the fact of catching fish is all about lighter leader, more natural presentations. But then down there, it's just
you want your bait to be seen or felt.
Anything that's kicking down there in dirty water is enough for them.
I mean, that's definitely an area that I definitely want to go back and fish.
I think it'd be really cool.
I think we need to go down and do a weekend
camping
trip or something. I know my buddy Bob's all about it. He keeps asking me, he's when are we going to do anything?
Bob wants to go too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be so fun, dude.
We looked into it, and you can rent a little Carolina skiff.
I just hit the mic. Smack. You're gonna hear this again. Ready? You're gonna hear this in the video.
But yeah, we looked into it, and you can get a little Carolina skiff down there, from that little area that is right there by the campground, and it's not too much either. And I was dude, I'd rather go down there and get a little, I forgot what it was, maybe 16-foot Carolina skiff.
Could just do 2 of them even or something.
Yeah, I don't care.
3 people in a 16-foot skiff.
Yeah, I'm I just want to get out there in something other than my kayak.
It's bigger than the Crocs.
That's all I care about.
As long as the boat's bigger than the Crocs, we're good.
Yeah, and I wanna go down there and film another video down there, and
that would be so cool.
Yeah, that's something.
Bugs, we have to do it
relatively soon.
Yeah,
I feel I'll talk to Bob and I'll try to get that figured out. It will be. Unless we just want to sit there and just deal with the bugs.
Yeah.
You don't look too thrilled about that idea.
We have netting, so we could do that.
We'll just
cover your... You literally just wrap yourself... Yeah, DEET. You wrap yourself in netting and DEET.
That sounds like a blast.
And you might have fun, but you might get eaten alive by bugs.
And we were planning to do a island camping video like we've done in the past. We were going to do it.
Yeah.
What would have been, I think, last week. Yeah. I think we're planning for it. But then red tide hit. And there was a bunch of dead fish, and the water quality and honestly even the air quality was not good. And it was something that we still want to do. We obviously still want to do.
Camping is so much fun. It's so much different.
Yeah.
It's so much more different than a normal typical fishing video.
It is. And it's something that we still want to do, but it's timing it with the weather. You don't want it to be 80 degrees at night when you're trying to sleep, and also the bugs get bad in the summer. So it's we're kind of running a little bit close on time. And then the red tide, once we finally had a week kind of planned out, then red tide freaking smacked the area.
Hopefully it's gone by the time this is coming out.
Yeah, and it's something that we were talking about last week, last Tuesday when we went offshore, that we were talking about when I had the Goliath in my red grouper. We saw dead fish in our area all inshore, all in the intercoastal, and up to like 3 miles offshore. But apparently, and that was like the first we've like seen it. Apparently, we went out Tuesday. It flushed in that previous Saturday, so like a couple days before like we went out. Fast forward just a week to this past Saturday. I heard people that went out and said the water was fine, and they went out and caught redfish in our area. And I mean, granted, we're filming this podcast in the morning. It is 50 degrees, feels like 47, and it's raining all morning, but it's supposed to be sunny and 60 this afternoon. So we're literally filming a podcast before we're going to go out and try and fish the area again that the red tide affected, because we heard that's not too bad right now. We are also following FWC's. They have kind of like an up-to-date map where they do samples of the water, and they pretty much update it every area every day, maybe even multiple times a day. And it's saying low, where on Tuesday last week, pretty much a week ago, it was saying like high and like very high in this area. So it seems to have already kind of flushed out.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was the south winds. We had probably a week and a half of stronger south winds, which was a lot of warm water. And I think it brought a lot of the dead fish up.
Yeah.
As well as maybe some of that red tide polluted water.
And it's something where it being 50 degrees right now and raining.
Yeah, this is nature's way of saying, hey, we're going to take some action against it. Pretty much.
So we're hoping our area gets to recover, and we hope that it doesn't get bad again, and that we're actually able to hopefully get out and do this island camping video, because that's something that we like doing. You guys apparently like watching. I've gotten quite a few comments asking when we're going to do that again.
I got a lot of people are like, when are you doing another camping video?
Yeah.
I'm like, we have so many other cool videos we do, but for some reason camping, it's so different for us, and it's way more, it changes the pace for a normal video. And editing something that's not the typical
I feel like I put so much more effort into anything that's a little camping.
Why is that? I did that too. I spent like 20 something hours editing my first camping video.
That I feel a little more personally connected to the videos, because it's one of these things that when we go out and we film a fishing video, we put a GoPro on our head, or you put one on your chest, or whatever you do, and we have usually our cameras behind us and kind of filming like the back. And we're not necessarily the ones like getting like the really good shots and kind of like taking our time and doing everything. Obviously we get the B-roll shots that we kind of like use to kind of fill the videos a little bit. But when it comes to a camping video, I feel a little more personally connected to it, because I'm able to kind of get back behind the camera, use the nicer camera more often.
For sure.
And it's something where it's like, you're getting good shots. This is going to be looking really good. This is exactly what you're wanting. And then when you go back to edit it, just to be able to like have that excitement and enthusiasm going into it. It's kind of like
the underwater GoPro in a way.
It's really different. Is.
It's different, and it's exciting to edit because it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same like GoPro, put Sony footage over GoPro footage, match the audio, and then, you know what I mean? It's just different. It's more fun.
Yeah, it's something where having clips or having recorded something that excites us makes editing that video. It seems like we put a lot more effort into those videos when we're actually excited for it. It's not to say that what we don't, or it's not to diss, like, if we go out and catch trout and small redfish, which is
to people would be awesome.
Yeah, to people would be awesome, and then we could also like make it very educational, make it like very entertaining, and it could be like a good video. But that compared to like if we were to go out and go island camping and like do a catch and cook on the island, and like it's just something that we feel a little more personally connected, because we had more fun doing it, and we'll put a little more effort into it too.
There's not as much like education factor, so we're not like feeling as if we have to explain every single thing about camping, whereas fishing, we're trying to explain the tides, we're trying to explain the lure, how we're using it. Camping's almost like a weekend for us. Like,
it's something that like we really look forward to doing.
It's a treat in a way. And something
that we did in our previous camping video, the one that we posted last year. We went out fishing on the boat prior to setting up our campsite. Like we set up our campsite like kind of around sunset, if I remember.
Oh, definitely. And it was getting cold by the time we got the fire going.
Like had to set up our hammock, set up a fire and everything. It was already getting dark, and granted, we were able to kind of like take our time in the morning and like do whatever we wanted in the morning. But something I really want to do with this next time is get all of our gear and everything and then get out to the island and relatively early.
And only fish the island.
I want to fish from the island and kind of make it. Obviously, we'll have a backup plan.
And maybe bring waders too, so we can kind of get a little bit more freedom to go around because the water's still not that warm.
Yeah. And I want to make it where we try and catch our dinner. It's not going to be like, let's say.
It could be lunch.
It could be lunch. I guess it really depends on what time we go out there. Yeah. But it's something where it's like, I'm also not going to be like, well, I caught a 17-inch trout for dinner. It looks like you're not eating because you didn't catch anything. Like it's going to be like.
That's why I bring hot dogs.
Yeah, that's why we have a backup plan. No, it's going to be like we're trying to like provide for like the group. If it's like us or like, I don't know if Bob comes or like if anyone comes or anything. But it's something that I want to kind of set up and be able to like film the campsite, film the island while it's still sunny.
The experience.
It's one of these things, obviously, anyone that owns a camera and like films.
Lighting.
Once it starts getting dark, you're going to have to start using lights.
Unless you have an O-light.
Like we have this time, which makes it look so much better.
So much fancier.
Unless you have some sort of lighting, you're going to have to bump up your ISO. You're going to have to mess with a bunch of settings on your camera. It just never looks as good. And so to be able to like get to the campsite while it's still light out, be able to kind of film, just kind of like be able to take our time and not feel, I feel like it will be a little more relaxed because I feel like last time it was like we were get like to the island
on a strict schedule,
and have dinner and everything before it gets this time. And I was just like, I just want to go out there and just kind of set up, fish from the island and see what we catch and just have a good day out of it. Because I feel like a lot of times the people that can relate to the videos are the people that have done these island camping days in the past, like
or just
themselves.
Camping in general.
Well, I was saying like specifically like island camping is they're not getting there right at sunset. They're going out there on the weekend. They're trying to get there afternoon sometime and just kind of like chill on the island. And then I felt like it felt like when you like show up to a hotel at like 9 p.m. and then leave at like 8 a.m.
That's exactly what it was like. And I think what you were saying is true. If we had more of that day, like prior to sunset, we would have we could have caught some fish there. We could have made the fish earlier. Mm-hmm. Could have done maybe, like a little bit more fishing around sunset instead of putting the hammock up, like
getting a fire
seasoning
started.
The fish, getting the fire started. Like we did a lot in like, I mean, what did we get there? Like 6? And then we left at like 7. So we were there for like 12, 13 hours or so.
We were there for 13 hours.
And I slept for like 2 of it, but it's fine. I mean,
JC had the worst night's sleep of his life. I don't know if we've really talked about that.
No, because in the video that I posted, I never even said like,
he doesn't want to complain.
I don't want to complain, but it was so much. It was still like the most fun camping experience I've had. It's just when your hammock is blowing in the wind like a sail, dude. And then I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, shivering. I went down to the tree. I sat underneath the tree for about 2 hours on my phone. And then you woke up. You're all warm. You're like, "Oh, I'm hot. Like I'm ready to get up." And I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude.
I was like, "Good morning. How'd you sleep?" Or you're like, you have the biggest bags under your eyes.
Dude,
and you're just like,
oh my!
I think the first thing you said that morning, you're like, that was top 5 worst night's sleep of my life.
Oh, no, it was easily the first. Easily the first. Like, we've driven to Maryland and back, and I've slept maybe like 4 or 5 hours out of that because I helped drive. But that was like so cold you couldn't even sleep.
Yeah, it was.
I was in shorts.
Was it low 50s?
It was low 50s, and the wind was like
20, 25 miles an hour. So to give you context, the island that we slept at, it's kind of like a long, maybe like horseshoe kind of shape.
But has a little peninsula.
It has a peninsula, and the peninsula is kind of really east and west. So there's a north side and a south side that kind of get hit pretty hard. The wind was coming hard from the north. It was 20, 25 miles an hour from the north, and JC set his hammock up on 2 trees that were running east and west. I set up my hammock, so it was on trees, so I was parallel with the wind.
The wind was
I was
going
cutting right through it.
Yep.
JC was just Yeah, he was literally moving like rockin' baby kind of thing.
Oh, it was more than rocking.
I also had my sleeping bag that was rated to like 32 degrees or whatever.
Well, I have one
that
now.
I use when I go on my like road trip camping trips. I'm like, oh, that thing is the best thing in the world. So I just crawled into my hammock, crawled into my sleeping bag, and just slept like a baby. I didn't move or anything, and I was just having a great night. JC
I was squirming, dude.
Did you have a blanket at least?
I think I did. I was in shorts and a hoodie with like socks on, and I remember this like my feet were so numb because the wind was going right through the hammock that my toes were numb, and I just kept thinking like, well, maybe if I like like wrap my like feet in my like hoodie or something.
Just not comfortable.
I was just like, well, no. What if I did this? Like the whole night, I was basically trying to figure out how to like minimally change something to make myself just a tad bit warmer, which sounds so terrible, but afterwards, like sleeping in my own bed the next night was probably the best night's sleep I've ever gotten.
It was the fact that I woke up and you were on the backside of a tree.
On a tree on my phone.
You're on the south side of this big tree, just trying to get out of the wind. I was just like, "Hey, good morning. How'd you sleep?" And you're just like, "Dude,
let me tell you,
not good."
Well, what's funny is I considered making a fire at like 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, but there wasn't enough wood to last that long to make breakfast. So if it was either wait till like 6 and then start the fire, so that way we had enough wood to make breakfast, because it wouldn't have lasted all the way until like 6 o'clock. So I was contemplating that, but I was like, nah, I'm not. I'll be all right, and then just shivered it out for 2 hours.
So now we know.
Now thermal.
Well, first off, JC got a sleeping bag that's also rated to like negative 40 degrees.
Thermal
apparently.
Blanket too.
You're gonna be sweating.
I'm gonna be sweating, dude.
Yeah,
that's fine. I'd rather sweat than shiver.
We learned a lot.
We did learn a lot.
That was my first time ever a hammock.
It was a good experience though. It was fun.
But yeah, like we're talking about, we want to in the future, hopefully here in the next, month, because I feel like it will get a little bit hot.
Definitely.
We want to do an island camping video, and I want to set up somewhat early, just so we could really kind of utilize the day and fish and be able to just. That's one of the beauties of like the camping trips that I go on is like. Granted, this is going to be different, but like I'll go like hiking in the morning or whatever, and then you'll come back and you just like chill at your campsite for like an hour or two in the afternoon. Like I'll set up a hammock and just kind of like lay out there, and just to be able to like relax a little bit, as opposed to last time it was just like go. It was like we got to set up, we wake up, we got to eat breakfast, we got to get out of here. I want it to be just kind of like be able to have the camera like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Be behind the camera, be the one that's really getting the good
Maybe
shots.
Maybe even film a podcast.
An island podcast.
The Island Boys podcast.
Oh, that is not what we're going to be naming it. We can name that episode that one, but we're...
The Island Boys podcast.
Let's talk about a little bit of what we're planning to do today. So we kind of talked about how apparently in this area it's looking a little bit better, and something we do very often, I feel like, is we look back on our photos and previous videos from like years prior and just kind of be like, hey, that's kind of one of the benefits of this whole
sure,
is you look back and you see what areas, what techniques and everything were really firing up at that specific time of the year in the past couple of years. And one of the things that we're really noticing is the redfish in this very late winter, early spring kind of time. We're really starting moving around on these grass flats and by the mangroves at the higher part of tide. Yeah. And one technique that we really are going to start utilizing more in these upcoming months is one of my favorite things of all time, using cut bait for these redfish, especially in the mangroves at high tide.
It just works.
It's a cheat code.
It's if you want to catch redfish, just cut up a pinfish and throw it into the mangroves. If you know they're there. If you see mullet, if you know that there's a lot of fish moving through, it's that simple.
It's a cheat code. It's something that it's one of these things that I feel like everyone. I want to look through and see how many actual cut bait videos I have.
I just wonder how many redfish have been caught on that Mojo inshore. The one that's like falling apart.
The one that the Procyon's on now?
Yeah,
the one that's falling apart. That's got super glue on it everywhere?
That thing's red count has to be like in the thousands. Like, it has to be.
Well, it's funny you say that because that's what I was getting at is I don't think I started throwing cut bait for redfish until
like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 3 years ago or something.
Yeah.
It was something where I was like, I'd always done shrimp. I'd always done live bait. I'd always done artificials. The idea of throwing out a cut bait and just being patient and just kind of like letting it sit there, whether it's on a flat or the mangroves or something, is something that like I never even considered, honestly, until I can say I went fishing with Jordan. And Jordan was the first one that actually used cut bait.
No way.
He learned it from a couple of his buddies, and he showed me. I'd always heard. Like, I always heard about cut bait or whatever. Yeah. But we were fishing by some mangroves in a very recognizable area that I'm sure
fires a lot of people up.
That have seen in a lot of the videos. But we were fishing, and I was using greenbacks. I think just free lining around the mangroves. And I was pulling out some little snook and little redfish, whatever. But we also had some pinfish, I think. And he's like, I'm going to throw a cut bait. I'm like, okay. And he tosses it, not even like in the mangroves, just like along the edge or something, and put it in the rod holder. And sure enough, like 5 minutes later, it just bends over and starts going. So I was like, let me try that. So I take a cut bait and I toss it in the mangroves, and I pull one out in like 3 minutes. And I don't think I used live bait for the rest of that day. And it was something I was just like, wow, that really works.
Yep.
So in the past 3 years,
it's a staple.
You guys have seen
a staple.
You guys have seen my learning progression of using cut bait, whether it's in the mangroves, which is the classic, like throwing it in the deeper pockets, or on the flats at low part of the tides when they're kind of pushed out of the mangroves. And it's something that's just, especially this time of year, just when they're really going to start moving, like the water's warming up. Granted, it's 50 degrees right now. I don't know what the water temp is. Probably 70. Like high 60s, maybe 70.
It's about 70, yeah.
They're going to start moving. And we're really excited because I don't even know when the last time I posted a cut bait video was. Now I'm thinking about it.
Well, I caught one on cut bait a little bit ago.
You did? Well, the video I literally, as of us recording this, I posted yesterday.
It's already up.
Yeah.
But another thing people don't think about a lot is you can still use frozen bait for cut bait.
That's something I still wanted.
I guess you haven't, but you've seen it work on my videos at least.
On your videos. I was going to say in person.
In person, no. So we'll have to touch on that a little bit more. We could try that even around here. Maybe.
I have a couple ideas
of where?
No, that evolve, is that the right word? Cut bait, like
around cut
revolve,
bait?
Sure. Yeah. Where it comes to different types of fish to use as cut bait. I don't want to. Just screw it. I want to.
How many people are going to be watching this?
Yeah,
I mean, it's not the whole channel. So
no, I want to try using Jack.
I think that'd be cool.
I'm every time I've caught a Jack in the past year, I've always looked at him and been like, I bet you'd be a good cut bait. You kind of like cut a fillet off.
They're oily. They're like
their skin's tough.
Yeah, it won't
their meat's pretty tough.
Yep.
I'm like, I feel like a redfish would smoke this. Like you were talking about, frozen baits.
Yeah, sardines,
thread fins.
Mullet would probably work. I haven't tried it.
I mean, sure. I've used frozen mullet.
You've caught reds on frozen mullet?
Yeah. No, I mean, they were frozen, and then I kind of defrosted them a little bit and then threw them out. They were obviously throwing out mullet popsicles.
Well, I've caught them on popsicles.
I know you have, and
they're like still melting. The redfish actually like a cool snack. So like if it's
when it's hot summer days,
it's a hot summer day. They actually they'll eat something that's a little below like 38 degrees. You know, it'll chill their.
I like how you know like this like below 38
what you do is you take like a little what are the things you check the meat with in the oven? It's
called a thermometer.
So you stick a thermometer. I thought there was a better word for that if it's cooking.
Meat probe.
Whatever. You stick it into the frozen bait and it reads 38 degrees. The redfish are like, I'll take that.
I'll take that. Nothing more, nothing less.
It's got to be 38 degrees.
There was something else. So Jack, frozen bait.
Dude, lizardfish, I guarantee
that was
lizardfish.
Yes.
I guarantee you that would work.
Why wouldn't it? I feel like you go out, you get one of these
offshore lizards.
You get one of. I was gonna say something that I was gonna have to bleep out if I said it.
Yeah, we're keeping this PG.
If you get one of these big lizards, like these 12-inchers, and you just stake them, and throw that out there in an area that you know the redfish are gonna be there, you're telling me that one's not gonna pick it up? Because ladyfish works. Everyone knows ladyfish.
Ladyfish is probably our favorite. I personally like ladyfish better because you're not killing like a ton of them for a ton of baits. Like,
well, I was gonna say
pinfish, you're literally just like, all right, redfish caught, kill another pinfish, toss it out.
I was gonna say mullet.
Mullet's good too. Yeah,
I think mullet's a little tougher. Skin's a little tougher.
Yeah.
If you are in an area where there's a lot of pinfish pecking at it, I think
ladyfish does get a little
soft.
Yeah.
Do not try freezing ladyfish and using that.
Well, that's when you just make fish cakes with it.
Yeah, it turns. It looks like you like put it in a blender in your hand.
Yeah, it's so. It's like mashed potatoes, but ladyfish.
It's like trying to use frozen greenbacks offshore. We've tried doing that. Use them for chum. They look really good as chum.
Yeah, just feed the snapper.
You try and put a hook in it, and
the hook just melts right.
It's like that hook is 8,000 degrees and just melting through that thing.
Yeah, it's like a butter knife through like butter. It just rips right off.
Butter knife through butter. It's not a hot knife through butter. It's a butter knife through butter.
It's like 1,000-degree steak knife going through cold butter.
Okay, just shut up. But no, it's one of these things that I feel like it just opens up a whole new world that I still have a lot of areas to kind of explore where it comes to, I was gonna say locations.
No, I think it has to be a location where like we know that they're chewing, because it's not going to be like, I mean, we both did like biology lab. You got to follow the process. Like you have to have a factor. What's it called?
Hypotenuse.
Hypotenuse.
I know what I said.
Wait a second. He said that's a triangle. No,
you need to find the acute angle.
Acute angle of a ladyfish cut up. What was I saying about you have to have like the independent
Control.
and the dependent. You have to have variable.
Yeah.
So the spot has to be a place where you've like caught them before, and you know that on that certain part of the tide they're going to be flowing through.
We need to literally be in an area,
or catch one on pinfish.
That's what I was saying.
And then throw another bait out.
We need to be in an area
where
and have at least two people or at least two rods. You got to have one with a bait that you have full confidence in, whether it's ladyfish, mullet, like big cut thready, cut pinfish, and then your variable rod or your experiment or whatever, and you throw it out, and you just see if one. And I mean, I've done this in the past. I've done a lot of like something versus something kind of videos where it's like live bait versus or live shrimp versus gulp shrimp, or like live bait versus artificial, and I try to do it as evenly as I possibly can, because the majority of the times that I go out, I'm solo when I'm doing it. So what I do is I'll go out and throw out my live bait, or I've done like cut bait versus live bait or something. I'll throw out one of the rods and put it down next to me, and then be working an artificial or be working a live bait while like the cut bait's soaking. And there'd be a couple times where like something would hit like the rod that's down and I would miss it. And I don't count it toward the tournament because it's only like fish that you catch and like bring to the boat. And I get a lot of comments being like, if you were to pay the full amount of attention to each one, then it would have been a different outcome kind of thing. So that,
you kind of see that, but
every time I've tried to do it as evenly as I possibly can, there's always
you're
people,
still going to get ripped.
You're not even ripped. It's just like, it is what it is. And I feel like if we're doing this, we have to try to, in our best power, to make it as even as possibly can. So like not have, if it's both of us going out, not have like I don't even know, let's say jack out there and just put it on the ground, or like put it in the rod holder or something. Like we need to have each of us holding it ready to go and doing our best effort to catch that fish.
Yeah. So there's no room for error.
Yeah.
Basically.
So yeah, that is something that I don't think that's going to happen today. I think today is just going to be a standard, let's go out, we'll see what kind of bait we can get. We have the dry chum. We'll see if we can get some pins. Yep. If not, we'll try and catch ladyfish or mullet or something. We'll try with that or just kind of see how the day goes. And the amount of times that we go out with a plan like this and then we'll go out there and then we see,
follow through.
Then we see a ton of greenbacks or something where it's like, all right, change of plans. We're going to go throw greenbacks at docks or something completely different. And we always set out with a plan and then it usually gets varied away from it at some point. So the plan for today, cut bait. You guys will probably see, if we do end up filming a video, you guys will probably see that before this is even posted. So that'd be kind of cool. And there's kind of dying. This is now coming to my head. There's a guy that commented on the video I posted yesterday. It's talking like, I told you about it, about like, he kind of fishes the same areas as us. And he's like, I don't go out and catch nearly as many fish as you do. Like, he's like, do you guys offer charters or anything? I was like, well, one of us might hear soon. But I didn't say that. But there was a couple comments on it before I was even able to respond that were just like, trust me, like everyone goes out and has days where they don't catch fish. It's just the fact that he doesn't, like, I don't post the videos that I don't catch a fish.
It's the editing that really throws people off.
Yeah, the amount of times that we go out and we have a plan just like we have today. Like we're going to go out and try and do something and then we'll go out and either not catch anything or catch like one redfish or something. We're just like, that's not enough for a video. And it's just something that people do need to kind of realize. Like we have our tough days as well. We just try to keep the videos that we do post as entertaining and have some sort of value to them. But that being said, like obviously you go out and you have these days where you don't catch anything. You still learn. You still have these educational kind of moments. And I think that's where people kind of get a little discouraged because they go out and they have these days where they don't catch nearly as much. And they're just like, they get kind of flustered by it. And they're like, we don't know what we're doing wrong and everything. And we have those days where we question our decisions in life.
How many times have we been just like, all right, so are we going golfing today instead?
Yeah, it's like what it's like, what are we doing wrong? We are the worst fishermen in the world. We can't, like, we see all these fish and we can't get them to bite, or we literally don't see any fish at all. And we're just like
pressure, weather.
Yeah, we're just
red
like
tide. Who knows?
Yeah, no one knows everything. You cannot. No one is going to go out there and have everything dialed in every single day.
There is no perfect.
No, there isn't. And
only perfect days sometimes.
Yeah, and one of these things is the more you go out, the more you watch our videos. The more like videos you watch and just kind of like learn from techniques from other people. If you can find people in your general area and learn kind of from them what they're doing at specific times of year and different gear and locations, everything, that definitely helps. But nothing compares to you going out and actually getting the experience on your own and you going out and actually trying to find the fish on your own and learning your specific area and honestly your specific fish and what they like. So that would be my big recommendation. And also, well, if you wanted to go out on a charter in your local area, that is definitely a huge help. You can go out and actually, I don't want to say steal spots. Don't do that. I mean, you can learn what works in general areas. Like what you can ask your charter guy anything. You can go to these bait shops. You can go, you can ask us. You can like comment. You can DM us and ask us questions and we'll try to help as best we can. You can learn from these guys. Yeah,
like our overall mission is to get you guys to go fishing. Like we're not trying to, just hide everything so that to the point where you're not just so you're discouraged. What are you going to say?
I don't want it to come off that we're like, because there's some
people who think that we're only here.
No. We're not here to show off. We're not here. Look at our videos. We are not going out and catching 40-inch snook every single day. We're not going out catching huge overslot reds or tarpon the majority of our videos of us going out and catching slot redfish and trout and snapper and stuff like that. we're just kind of average dudes that we're just trying to be educational and trying to help you guys out. I've gotten this question a couple times with people that are like trying to start a fishing YouTube channel.
I've gotten a couple of those too.
And they're just like, what are some tips or what are some recommendations that you have? Yeah. And I always try to say, you really need to focus on being entertaining or educational. And if you can combine the two, that camera died.
Bye, Sony.
You need to be educational and entertaining. And if you can do both of those at the same time, that's the recipe. But if you had to focus on one, like you can do that. Like you could just go out and catch Goliath, like black tip H style, like go out and catch like Goliath groupers and big sharks. And you don't learn too much from these videos, but they're entertaining. They have the entertainment value. Or you focus on these how-tos. You focus on these like how to tie certain knots, how to fish a specific rig or certain areas or something. Then you'll also find success doing that if you're staying consistent. But if you can find a way, that's what I try and strive for. If like trying to find a way where you're both educational and entertaining to the point where like people find value in your video from both, then that is, I think I hope that's a winning formula.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. And start out small.
Yeah.
Start with just a GoPro.
Yeah. Like I wish I could be this freaking fully entertaining, just personality where it's going out and catching these monster fish and it's just like, oh, I'm such a great fisherman. I've caught this massive fish every single time. Yeah, there's nothing really
to show off. Like people, think we're doing it for clout or showing off, but there's really nothing to show off. Like we're showing
off our 30-inch snook.
Yeah, like I mean that's nothing.
That's a fine one, but
it's a good one.
You go through my Instagram on the Sea Dude Instagram, and there's so many times I'm posting pictures of me holding like a 25-inch snook or like an 18-inch redfish, and I'm just like, this is what I caught today. Like, here's a new video today.
Some people love it, some people hate it.
Yeah, some people, I mean, I've gotten the comments in the past, they're just like, have fun catching your 18-inch redfish on cut bait. I'm like, oh, I damn will. Like, I'm going to have a great time.
We'll have a great time, you know what?
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't need to go out and catch.
It's better than catching nothing.
Yeah, the fact I'm out fishing right now is all I care about.
Yep, go fishing.
But
go try.
We're going to go try to catch some bigger than 18-inch redfish today.
And if we don't?
We're still going to have a good day. We're still going to have a good time. We're out on the water. And the reason I'm kind of wrapping this up right now is it looks like it stopped raining and the sun is starting to come up. But thank you guys for listening to episode 3 of the See You Dude podcast. And thank you, JC, for joining me again.
Always.
And we will see you guys here next time.